They packed their bags feeling confident, not nervous, not worried, confident, because on paper they were everything employers say they want. 10 years of experience, big-name American companies, impressive job titles, strong salaries back home. They thought the UK job market would see them as a catch. Instead, the rejection emails started piling up, and that confidence quietly collapsed. At first, they laughed it off. 1 rejection doesn't mean anything. 2 is coincidence. 5 is odd. 10 starts to feel personal. And when it keeps happening, you start replaying every interview in your head, wondering what went wrong. Because nothing makes sense. The CV is solid. The experience is real. The skills are proven. So why does the UK keep saying no? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. This is the moment many Americans moving to the UK don't talk about. The shock, the confusion, the realization that American work experience, no matter how impressive, doesn't automatically translate the way they expected. Before moving, they'd heard the same story over and over. The UK needs workers, there are shortages, companies are desperate. If you've worked in the US, you'll be fine. Some even believed the UK job market would be easier. Slower pace, less competition, less pressure. They imagined walking into interviews with confidence, expecting interest, maybe even admiration. Instead, they walked out of interviews with polite smiles, vague feedback, and the same sentence dressed up in different ways: "We've decided to move forward with other candidates." What stings isn't just the rejection, it's the reason behind it, or rather, the lack of one. No clear explanation, no obvious mistake, just an unspoken gap between what Americans think matters and what the UK actually values. In the US, experience is king. Big results, big numbers, big achievements. You're taught to sell yourself loudly, to highlight leadership, to talk about impact, to make sure they know exactly how good you are. In American interviews, confidence is expected, sometimes even exaggerated confidence. But in the UK, that same confidence can quietly work against you. Many Americans don't realize this until it's too late. In UK interviews, being too self-promotional can feel uncomfortable to the interviewer. Not impressive. Uncomfortable. What sounds like leadership in the US can come across as arrogance in the UK. What feels like clarity can feel like bragging. And what feels like ambition can feel like not fitting in. So the American candidate leaves the interview thinking it went great, while the interviewer is thinking skilled. Yes, but not quite right for the team. Then comes the CV problem. American resumes are bold, detailed, achievement-heavy. UK CVs are structured differently, shorter, more neutral, more restrained. Less "I did this," more "I was responsible for this." Less emphasis on personal wins, more on collaboration and consistency. Many Americans submit US-style resumes without realizing they're quietly breaking unspoken UK expectations. And no one tells you that outright. Recruiters don't say your CV looks too American. They just don't call back. Then there's the qualifications issue. This one hits especially hard. Americans assume experience outweighs everything. And in the US, it often does. But the UK places a surprisingly high value on specific credentials, certifications, and local standards. You can have years of experience and still be told you're not quite qualified because your background doesn't align neatly with UK frameworks. This is where reality really sets in. You realize that being good at your job isn't always enough. Being experienced isn't always enough. Being American definitely isn't enough. And then there's the reference problem. In the US, references are often a formality. In the UK, they matter more than people expect. UK employers like UK references, local references, people they understand from companies they recognize, speaking in a familiar professional tone. When your references are all American, it quietly raises hesitation. Not because they're bad, but because they're unfamiliar. Again, no one says this out loud. It's just another invisible mark against you. At this point, many Americans start questioning themselves. Maybe the market is bad. Maybe it's just timing. Maybe they're unlucky. But deep down, a new thought creeps in. What if my experience isn't as valuable here as I thought? That thought is uncomfortable, especially when you moved countries believing your career would transfer smoothly. Then comes the interview-style mismatch. American interviews often feel energetic, fast-paced, and assertive. UK interviews tend to be calmer, more measured, and more subtle. The questions sound similar, but the expectations behind them are different. When a UK interviewer asks about challenges, they're listening for reflection, not dominance. When they ask about success, they're listening for teamwork, not individual glory. Many Americans answer these questions the American way and don't realize they're missing the signal. They talk about how they led, how they pushed, how they drove results. The UK interviewer nods politely, but what they really want to hear is how you listened, adapted, supported, and fit into an existing system. So the feedback, if it comes at all, sounds vague. Great experience, but not the right fit. That phrase starts to feel haunting. And then there's the biggest shock of all, the competition. Americans often underestimate how competitive UK roles are. Many positions attract candidates with UK degrees, UK experience, UK networks, and UK cultural fluency. You're not just competing against other immigrants, you're competing against people who already understand how things work, who don't need adjustment time, and who don't raise any uncertainty. From an employer's perspective, choosing the safer option makes sense. From the American applicant's perspective, it feels brutal. This is usually the moment where expectations completely reset. Some Americans double down, sending out more applications with the same approach, hoping persistence alone will work. Others pause and adapt. They rewrite their CV to sound more British. They soften their language. They downplay achievements instead of highlighting them. They seek UK certifications. They accept roles below their previous level just to get local experience. That's a humbling moment. Going from being highly respected in your field to feeling invisible in a new country changes you. And yet, this is also where things start to shift. Those who adapt begin to notice subtle changes. Interviews feel warmer. Feedback becomes more specific. Recruiters start calling back, not because they became less skilled, but because they learned how to translate their skills into the UK's professional language. They realize the UK job market isn't easier or harder, it's just different. American experience isn't useless. It just doesn't speak for itself here. It needs interpretation, context, adjustment. The shock fades, replaced by understanding, and eventually acceptance. But that initial belief that UK jobs would be easy to get, that American experience would open doors automatically, that belief doesn't survive first contact with reality. And maybe that's the real lesson. Not that one system is better than the other, but that moving countries means starting over in ways you didn't expect. Not from zero, but not from where you left off either. So, if you're American, watching this, planning a move to the UK, thinking your resume will do the talking for you, this isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to prepare you. Because the ones who succeed aren't the most experienced. They're the ones who adapt the fastest. And if you've already lived this experience, felt that shock, that frustration, that quiet disbelief scrolling through rejection emails, then you know exactly how real this is. Drop a comment, share your story. Because trust me, you're not the only one who thought it would be easy. Just when they think they've figured it out, there's another twist no one warned them about. Even after adjusting their CV, softening their interview style, and lowering expectations, many Americans still notice something unsettling. The jobs they're finally being considered for aren't the ones they would have even glanced at back home. Roles they once hired for are now roles they're applying to. And that's when the internal conflict really begins. Because on the outside, they tell themselves it's temporary, just a stepping stone, just UK experience. But internally, it feels like a step backward, a quiet hit to identity. Your job title isn't just a job. It's proof of who you are, what you've built, how far you've come. And suddenly, that proof doesn't carry the same weight. This is where many Americans either break or recalibrate. Some refuse to compromise. They wait. Months go by. Savings shrink. Confidence takes another hit. Every rejection feels heavier because now it's not just about fit, it's about time. And the UK job market doesn't move fast. Silence is common. Follow-ups don't always get replies. The uncertainty becomes exhausting. Others take the role they never planned to take. And strangely, that's often when everything changes. Once they're inside a UK workplace, even in a lower position, something shifts almost immediately. Colleagues start vouching for them. Managers see the work ethic. British references appear on the CV. Suddenly, the same experience that was once not enough starts to make sense in context.